All right, we are now joined by Southland Conference Tournament champion, head coach of the Southeastern Louisiana Volleyball team, Coach Jeremy White. Coach, first of all, I mean, you got to add that to the title. Whenever, you got people who are doctors, they introduce themselves as doctor, you got to just introduce yourself as Southland Conference Tournament champion now, Jeremy White.
Nah, it's pretty awesome. I'm proud of our kids, man. They put in all the work and allowed us to have this great season and culminating in a conference championship is pretty tremendous. And we're excited about the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks.
But also, you are the first ever guest on the show. So again, that's another thing. I mean, it's a big week for you. You got the tournament championship and you're the first guest. I mean, what does that mean to you? I know 4 years ago when you took this job, you said, I can't wait to be the first guest on John's show.
It's awesome. I kind of like it. It's funny. It's not even the first today.
Wow.
I did a Digging It podcast this morning for VSN, and apparently now I'm the first two-timer ever. So I feel pretty pumped because well, Tanya over at LSU's only been on once. So I'm winning 2-1 right now.
Exactly. You were talking with Eric?
Yeah.
Right before I got my current job, Eric was my boss. So small world, man. Small world. He's doing great things for volleyball in the state of Louisiana. Now let's get into it, Coach. I mean, because the thing that I wanted to ask the most was when you interviewed for this job, when you were offered this job, this program was not only just, they weren't okay. I mean, they were one of the worst programs in Division I volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was attractive to you about this job? And then we'll get into building the program and what you've got now. But what was attractive? I'm sure there had to have been even assistant coach opportunities that may have been more attractive than the head coaching job.
I'd done the assistant coaching thing again and at that time, and I enjoyed my time at McNeese as an assistant, but I was kind of wanting to stay in the realm of head coaching. And the biggest thing was I didn't really know much about the program outside of the few times we had seen. I think we might have played here once when I was at McNeese, and then every other time was, I think, at McNeese in Lake Charles. And my wife being from Louisiana, we were up in Oklahoma. She was kind of tired of being away from home. And so opportunity came to get, some job opportunities closer to home. I took a shot at them, and Jay gave me a chance. I came in for the interview and just really enjoyed the talent. I think Hammond is a unique place, and really enjoyed my time. And then, I thought the university itself had some great qualities as far as, size, and I think it's a good looking campus and trying to do a lot of great things. And we had facilities that, they're not like cream of the crop in the entire country or anything like that, but to come in and play in a big arena is a real college atmosphere, and I felt like that's something that that was going to be also easier with recruiting. And then I also knew, and it's kind of been probably the biggest buoy of all, is that you had an underused resource, I guess, or an unused resource in a sense, with Louisiana athletes that people tend to overlook in the world of volleyball because maybe the high school is not the highest level, or the club's play is not the highest level or anything. But I knew what I was doing. I'd coached high school ball and saw some great athletes, and athletes are athletes no matter where the heck they come from, and give them a little TLC, and then they turn into Southland Conference champs apparently.
Man, isn't that the truth? And I think that you nailed it right on the head. I mean, because you look at volleyball, especially on the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain, and then you get into the private school sector of New Orleans, the volleyball level is as good as anywhere. And you've really tapped into that. And we've seen what local talent can do for the university. We've seen it with the football program. Mm-hmm. At what point did you know, if we keep developing our own, we're going to have a chance to have something special? Because it really has been, building up into this. It's been leading into this over the 4 years you've been there.
Yeah, I think, when I came to the program, knowing where it was, I was really looking for bringing in, the kind of athletes that would exemplify the characteristics and the values that I hold dear. And I think that are really important for success. And it's, we wanted to have this family-like culture with this great work ethic and kind of that blue collar mentality. And I think that's really that's Louisiana in general. You've got, it's a lot of close families. I mean, we just, a lot of people coming to matches, a lot of people even the volleyball community itself is like a family as well. So it's like, there's this an underlying sense that there's a value of family. And then, it's like I said, the blue collar work ethic. You even made a comment the other day. Even if you look at it, you go into the private schools, you think private, when I'm from Texas and you go into the private schools there, 9 times out of 10, it's this immaculate facility and it's like high tech everything and all this kind of stuff. And you come here and it's like, not that they're bad schools, but they're historical schools and they've got these gritty looking gyms and stuff. And these kids are just grinding it out in these places. And it's not about the stuff. And that's kind of something I wanted it to be. I wanted to bring kids in that it wasn't about the stuff. It wasn't about what they got. It's about what they got to do. And that's kind of, I think, been the biggest buoy for our program is bringing in those kids. And then, tapping into some nice athletes from other places, but using those kids to kind of create that culture.
And then this year, the key to the success has been the home court advantage. You guys have not lost a game in the UC. You wind up getting to host the conference tournament. And then I thought it was so cool how even in the social media posts, the referencing of the crowds that were in the UC all weekend. I mean, if you can go back to your first match and then, fast forward 4 years, I mean, just the difference had to have been crazy. And the support, that's got to be really exciting to see. There's a genuine interest in winning. There's a genuine interest in Southeastern volleyball when we make the university proud.
Yeah, I think that started, when we first got here, very few people in the stands and stuff, but it also had a lot to do with, where they were coming, these kids were coming from. I think the first thing we did, bringing in Louisiana talent, you got more families in and then more extended families, and you got more people in the area like, oh, they're recruiting Louisiana kids. Let's go take a look at them. Let's go watch. So our crowds kind of grew just on the basis of bringing those kids in. But then, of course, the success followed it. And, everybody wants to be around a good program. And then I think our marketing team's done a great job of kind of just creating some atmosphere as well. We're throwing out T-shirts a lot more. We're doing, we're trying to do more stuff at our green and gold game that kind of just gets people involved. And, I think those things are huge. The reach out to the student population has been great. And then also, I mean, you've been around it, like the other great, especially this weekend, our sports, this is probably probably the only place I've been where I feel like every single coach is just genuinely invested in the other sports, wanting to see them be successful and, making sure guys are out, football and baseball guys are out, being rowdy in the stands. And then, you got our beach team, and then women, it's almost a bummer that women's and men's basketball were out of town because they're usually like right on court side going nuts. And so it was like, we had just great support from the community. We had great support from our, athletics. And we also had a lot of other students who just trailed in and wanted to be a part of something special.
Yeah. I mean, you said it, it's, I don't know if they still make the shirts, but I remember it was 15 sports, one team. And that is so true. It's easy to make the shirt, but, especially the baseball team, man, the baseball team has always been huge supporters of everything around the university. And then did you think you would be in this position so early? It is crazy that it's been 4 years. Of course, you have the COVID year, but it is crazy that it's already year 4. And now you've accomplished something that no team in Southeastern volleyball history has done. That's win a conference championship. You're headed to the NCAA tournament. Did you expect it to happen this fast?
I mean, I don't think you expect anything like that. We know we brought in the right kind of kids to make it possible. But I think, winning a championship is really about a lot of different things. It's about luck. It's about, health. It's about, just a special group of kids being able to come together and do the right things. And I think the luxury we had this year is that even though we weren't exceptionally healthy all year long, we had developed some depth, and so having that depth kind of carried us through some times when some of our big key players were out. And so that was huge. I mean, I don't know that you could have ever thought it was going to happen this fast. I mean, I'm proud of our kids, man. I think they've worked their tail off. I got Ari in the other room right now working on some project or something like that with Coach Gabby. And she's we were just talking, after the match, she comes up and hugs me and stuff. And she goes, "Coach, I told you we were going to get you one. We're not going to leave here without a ring." So it's like, it's nice to see those kids. They wanted it. I mean, that's a kid that won 4 state championships in high school. And so it's them to come up and do that and her remind me that, "Hey, Coach, we're going to get you one while we're here," type thing. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that when you first got hired. Was you're bringing these kids who are winning state championships, at Pope John Paul, and you've got all the private schools that are there every year. You've got the Mount Carmels, the Dominicans. Basically, every kid from those schools is going to play college volleyball. But when they get there, it's not always working out, and we saw that at Southeastern. How special is that to see these kids, I guess, grow and build this program? Because even your first year, you guys are above 500, but you're not really competing for a conference title. To build it up and to see them grow as competitors to get to where they are now.
I think the big part about that, when you go and bring in winner kids and kids who are going to make plays at the end when it really matters. And I think that's the first thing we were trying to look for, is kids that have been there and we're going to make those plays. And it doesn't turn around that quick, because one, you've got to build a tradition of winning in a sense, and not just winning. It's hard to get over that hump, I guess. But I was coaching. We'll go back to a story. I was coaching at Barb High School, and each year that I was there, we played St. Thomas More. And at the time, right before I got there, St. Thomas More was still in 5A with us. I was in our thing, and then they had dropped down to 4A right before I took the job, and we'd still played them. It was like they were beating the heck out of us when I was a freshman coach, and when I was the head coach. I think they beat us in 4 the first year, beat us in 5 the next year. I don't remember if we played them the third. Maybe that was the one year we didn't. And then I left. To look and try to go to the college realm, and we, but we had them on the schedule for the next year. And I go and actually watch that match and look at possible kids to recruit, and they beat them in 4. And it was like, okay, that was kind of the culmination of understanding that this team had gotten to the point where they weren't afraid to win these big matches anymore. And so even though bringing in the kids that have done it helps, but the reality is like, we hadn't won a conference tournament. We've been here 4 years and still had yet to win a conference tournament match. And we've been every single year. But it's taken that time to get to the point where you learn how to win those. Like a program that's not been successful, no matter how many good players you have and successful players you have, that program still hasn't done it yet. And so when over time, we kind of just grew that mindset and just kind of kept, pushing that we could do it. And this year was like, it was up in the air. We were really competitive and really good. And the top of the conference was really good, but we were going to have to go win some really tough matches to get there. And I think that part probably is where the kids, having done it before, is where that came into play. But I think up to that point, it takes time to build that culture of winning at that program, regardless of what you've done in the past.
And I think that is what makes it so special. And for people who follow, Lion athletics, is that, the volleyball program was so out of the conversation for so long that when I saw that during your first 3 years, you guys didn't even win a tournament game, I was shocked, just because finally there was competition, there was winning. And so now, how much of the UC, playing at the UC, led to that? Because like you said, you did not go in as the 1 seed, but hadn't lost a game at home all year, and that's still the case. Do you feel like if this tournament was in Lake Charles, you guys have a ring? Obviously, it's hard to say, but it had to be a huge factor to be at home.
I don't know. We played, our kids played tremendous, but I think playing at home took a little of the edge off. I think just having some comfort in being able to sleep in our own beds and being our home crowd and get, we're, especially in the conference, championship match, that we're making big plays and getting rewarded with these, big cheers and stuff from the crowd. And you wouldn't have gotten that other places. And so I think that definitely kind of got us over that edge. Could we have won at other places? I think we're talented enough to do it. I think our team's good enough to have beaten these teams on the road as well. And we've been pretty good on the road against the top of the conference. Just it was the bottom of the conference that was giving us trouble for some reason. So there's definitely some things there. But I can tell you, even playing McNeese, who we had just got done playing like the week before on a Thursday at McNeese, up 14-11 in the 5th, and their crowd's getting involved as we're making a few mistakes and kind of turning into a much longer match than it needed to be. But and squeaking it out there. That was a confidence builder, but that crowd at McNeese kind of really helped them stay in it. And all of a sudden you get here, we were able to play the exact same team, and they played tremendously well. Even gave us some more trouble at different positions that we weren't expecting. Like their outside scored a lot more on us, but different crowd situation. All of a sudden, we are able to go get them in four, make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So the UC is huge. Hammond America does a great job of coming out, especially for every sport, but especially for a winter. And that's kind of really what's happened. And, hope we just keep it going.
Absolutely. And now looking forward a little bit, you guys are going to get to, have the watch party. That's got to be super exciting. Do you find out like a few minutes beforehand, I know where we're going, or are you finding out in real time?
I think we're finding out in real time. I mean, it's going to
Okay.
be, there might be a projection that comes out right before. I know we've seen the projections from this last week, and it's kind of nice because it actually had us projected to win the Southland anyway.
All right.
And so we've kind of got an idea of where we might get, which we're pretty excited about. But the reality is you just don't know. They'll tell us. If they tell us ahead of time, we'll try to keep it in. I probably won't tell the kids.
Yeah.
To see it in real time, but if not, we'll catch it on ESPNU just like the rest of the world.
Is there, obviously, I know you're going to say you're excited to go wherever, but is there a place, throughout your coaching career, oh my gosh, I would love to play in that atmosphere? Is there a place that you're kind of crossing your fingers and hoping you guys draw?
Well, unfortunately for volleyball, they kind of play it a little more regionally than they do maybe like in the basketball tournament. So it's not like they're going to send you to Hawaii or anything like that, which would be kind of cool. But it would be neat to get to play at UT. They've kind of traditionally been the place that the Southland winter goes. But there's some friends I have now that are kind of in the southeast portion of the country that would just be really fun to go compete against that I haven't got to compete against. David Rare at Houston is definitely an option, I think, for us, or maybe go out into one of the Floridas or the Georgia kind of locations and see what happens there. But it's really going to depend on this last week, and we've still got another week of volleyball going on around the country. So we'll see how things lay out, but I'll be happy regardless, man. We're excited for the opportunity to get into the dance, and our kids are just pumped about the chance to go compete on that stage. And I think it'd be great for not just this year's group, but also groups going forward, just knowing we've done it.
That's the thing. The opportunity is going to be huge, because the eyes of the volleyball world are going to be on you guys. Maybe not at the beginning of the match for some reason, but if you guys take that first set, all of a sudden we're putting a lot of eyes on that school down in Hammond that everybody mispronounces. So what makes a national powerhouse volleyball team? What is the difference in the athletes that separates the mid-majors from these top programs?
It's probably a little more similar to what you see in like the FBS versus FCS football, where it's just the size and athleticism just kind of overpowers it and stuff. There's a lot of great players that don't touch 10'6", or aren't Logan Eggleston at Texas touching near 11 feet, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of great players. That's why you have good volleyball still at the mid-major level. But just as much as Southeastern getting ready to go play Idaho is very different than Southeastern getting ready to go play Alabama in the first round of the tournament. Something like that would be. It's just that kind of athleticism changing, and it's not a knock on our athletes. Are great athletes and stuff, and there's a lot of kids that can go compete at an extremely high level. But sometimes we might have a kid at the outside hitter position that could be a libero on a Power 5 program or a top 25 program, but she wants to hit instead of just play back row. And that just goes back to the testament of sheer athleticism or just size. We got Wisconsin just last year when they won it had a 6'8" middle and a 6'9" right side, and our biggest kid on the team right now is about 6'2". And so it's like there's a difference in that. And when you got a 6'8" kid that is the best slide attacker in the entire country, which is like one of the most athletic things you can do on the volleyball court. That's pretty impressive. We don't see a lot of 6'8" kids with that kind of athleticism. Yeah, at the Southland level. So
Coach, now that it's here, you guys are now preparing for this stretch. It has to be exciting to watch it, I guess, on more of a national stage. You're probably only following it during the year at a conference level. What is national volleyball's, I guess, the hierarchy? Because obviously in Louisiana, we do not have men's volleyball. Is there more of a following for the men's sport, or because of the size of the women's sport, is that kind of the cream of the crop in terms of those who follow the sport?
It's a little more of a regional thing. You're going to see a bigger mixture of following in more of the for the sport, and more of like the West Coast, where you've got a lot of men's and women's programs. But really the mecca of volleyball right now is going to be the Big Ten, and the Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio State, Penn State kind of area, where you've got just these phenomenal. I mean, it's basically pro volleyball you're watching. You've got these phenomenal athletes playing at the highest levels of competition. These are programs that have, are actually now turning profit. So it's no longer just their actual revenue programs.
Wow.
Nebraska's sold out, I want to say, like 300 straight matches or something like that. For we had the Nebraska Creighton match that had to be played in the convention center that the national championship game is going to be played in this year, with 15,000 plus in attendance. And then the next week, Florida goes to Wisconsin and puts over 16,000 in there. It's just like, it's unreal what we're doing with the sport. And but that really is the heart and soul of it. We're starting to see a little more growth in the Big 12 and the SEC kind of helping it, which is, to be said, is probably going to continue to happen, because two of the biggest areas in club volleyball are Texas and Florida, and we're starting to see it continue to grow across the Gulf Coast. So I think you're going to continue to see it grow. I mean, I think the last thing I heard was, or saw, we're like 7,000 high school participants away from overtaking track and field as the one women's sport, which people never thought could be possible. But I think we're like 70,000 participants above women's basketball now. So it's a vastly growing sport. I think you're going to see it continue to grow. I mean, the TV money and stuff that's starting to happen, the amount of teams we've had, we've got so many teams on ESPN Plus. We've had so many matches this year on ESPN, and even on main broadcasts like CBS or NBC. So that's huge for our sport. I think it's going to keep growing that way, but definitely, you've got a mixture of following there. Men's volleyball is growing in our area, especially in the North Shore and New Orleans area, but it's a little further behind than the rest in that West Coast side of the country. But man, it's definitely that Big Ten area, that Big Ten country, that's kind of carrying the sport for us right now.
And I'll give a shout out to Eric Ritchie over there at Varsity Sports Now. If you're a volleyball fan, there's nobody who loves the sport more than Eric. I mean, Eric has done a great job growing the sport in Louisiana. Coach, the World Cup's going on. Are you following it all?
I need to be. I've been a little too wrapped up in stuff between.
Yeah, you've had some stuff going on. You've had some stuff going on
between that, and then I'm sure I don't know if you've heard or anything, but I'm sure you have, about one of our athletes losing their younger brother this past week, and so that's kind of been at the forefront of our minds. But I definitely need to get out there and get on and get to watch. And one of our best opportunities, right, with this U.S. team to go out and have a chance to really make a run. So that's pretty awesome for us.
Yeah. Could you talk about, the Tullis family and, because obviously they've meant a lot to the sport of volleyball in the state of Louisiana, but then just the strength of that family to push through it, obviously just an unimaginable tragedy.
Yeah. I've said this to quite a few people. Volleyball is not something that they do. It's really something they live. And literally all 4 kids played volleyball. Of course, Danny coaches, has been one of the best coaches, and not just the state, but one of the best coaches in the country for a long time. And then, even Diana coaches club every single year as well. And so that's the whole family's immersed in the sport. Losing a 16-year-old from any family is way too young. It's shocking every time it happens. But it was also, we're talking about the way our program is like, it's a member of our family in a sense. And, I love that family so much. They've been so great to my family, my kids. Colin, the youngest, puts up with my son every day in game and like running around like crazy. And so that they're a phenomenal family, and Seeing what Allie was able to do in the state finals, playing her heart out and being so strong in the interviews and stuff after, seeing what Ansie's been able to do, just getting on the court and stuff, because how close her and Christian were, and watching Danny be able to, be out there as a dad. I mean, I know, he was here with Ainsley the day after when we played UIW, and I'm just thinking the whole time, like, there's no chance that I coach this match if it's my child. So I mean, and I know, but again, volleyball means more to them than just a sport, and for them to be able to do that and just support her that way in the face of that tragedy is pretty tremendous.
And that, I think, is a lovely way to end this. And again, we're keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. Obviously, a terrible situation there in the Slidell area. But Coach, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. Can't wait to see where the Lady Lions are headed. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me, brother.